If the idea of using Adobe After Effects sounds intimidating, don't worry. This tutorial was made for beginners, and by the end of it, you'll be creating animations and motion graphics that actually look professional. Whether you want to level up your content, bring your brand to life, or just make cool videos, this is the tool that can do it. And remember, stick around till the end because we'll cover a few tips that most people miss when they're starting out. All right, now let's not waste any more time. I'm going to hand this over so you can get started right away.
In just a few minutes, I'll walk you through the basics so you can start creating eye-catching motion graphics and effects. When you first open your program, we're going to go to the top left corner and click on New Project. The first thing I'm going to have you do, and I have anybody do in any project, is save your file. We're going to do File, Save As, and save our project wherever we would like. Setting up a new composition. We're going to start by clicking New Composition in the middle of our screen, naming our composition. So I'm going to name this After Effects tutorial. Setting the resolution, I'm going to keep mine at 1920 by 1080, which is standard 16 by 9. And then the frame rate, you can set that to whatever you'd like as well. For the parameters of your project, I'm going to keep mine right now at 23.97 because that is also standard. And you can also set the duration of your project as well. I'm going to make mine 10 seconds. And you can go back and change the parameters at any point by going up to the top of your screen, clicking Composition, Composition Settings. And then you can fix and change anything you'd like. Importing and organizing your assets. You can import your assets in a few different ways. You can double click in the Projects panel, which will bring up your files where you can then choose which files to import. You can drag and drop files, or you can click on File, Import File, and you can import your files that way. Once you have your asset imported, double click on the composition in your project panel, and to add your assets to your timeline, all you have to do is drag and drop them in. If I want to add audio underneath the video, drag and drop. And then same thing, if I want to throw a picture in there, I can drag and drop my picture in, and you can relayer however you'd like. Typically, I like to keep my audio either at the top or the bottom to stay organized. And then the rest of the files, the order of them is based on what is needed for that project. You can change the duration of your clips in the timeline by finding the beginning or end of the clips and dragging that clip to the desired start time. So if I didn't want it to start until 1 second in, I would drag this up to the 1 second mark. And if I want the sunflower image to only be on my screen for 1 second, I can drag the end to the 2 second mark. And then I could also take this clip and click and hold in the middle of it. And I can move it around anywhere I would like to reposition it on my timeline. Now we're going to go through the different transform tools that you can use on your video. I'm going to select the clip in my timeline, press this little drop down arrow, and then press the drop down arrow on transform to see all the transform properties. Right now, we're going to focus on position, scale, rotation, and opacity. Let's say we want the position of our sunflower to start in the middle of our screen and then end off screen to the right after 2 seconds. So what we can do now is create a keyframe at the beginning for this position. So I'm going to select the keyframe button, and you can see that it just created a little diamond right there. That diamond is a keyframe on our timeline. And now I'm going to drag my playhead around to 2 seconds. And at 2 seconds, I'm going to change the location of my sunflower to be off screen. And once I have this, a new keyframe is automatically created. And when I play the video back, you can see all of the in-between frames are made for you, and the sunflower seamlessly moves off screen. You can also scale your image up and down by creating scale keyframes. So if I want the image to shrink by the time it's all the way off screen, I can make another keyframe on scale at the beginning. And then at the same spot, I can make the scale 0. Now we can see our sunflower shrinks as it goes off screen as well. If I wanted to make a couple loop-de-loops and rotate in a circle, I could do the same thing with rotation. Lastly, same with opacity. I can make it fade out and fade in by changing the opacity keyframes. So now it looks like this. Unlike Adobe Illustrator and Adobe Photoshop, where the toolbar is on the left-hand side of your screen, in After Effects, the toolbar is on the top. So this is where you'll find your selection tool, your hand tool, your shape tool, pen tool, text tool, paintbrush, etc. The selection tool is what you'll use to select your layers. Your hand tool allows you to grab the entire canvas and move it around. And this is beneficial if you're zoomed in and you need to see something super precise. That's when you'll use the hand tool. If you're on the selection tool, right now I'm actually moving the image and not the canvas, which might mess up my keyframes. The shape tool you can use to click and draw shapes on your canvas. And if you click and hold down on the shape tool, you get options for other shapes that you can create, like circles and stars and other things. Then we have the pen tool, which allows you to create free shapes, and the text tool, which allows you to add text to your screen. Once you select your shape, you can scroll over to the properties panel on the right-hand side of your screen, and this is where you'll be able to change certain characteristics of that shape, like the roundness of your square, for example, or the width of the stroke or the outline. You could change any property for any of your shapes, and same with your text as well. Also, right now my text is pretty small. I want to increase this. So I'm going to go to the transform properties of my text, go down to transform, and increase the scale of my text. Another way I could have done that is also double-clicked on my text and change the font size. Another way to access your transform properties is by pressing P, which will bring you right to position, S, which will bring you right to scale, T, which will bring you right to opacity, and R, which will bring you to rotation. Applying effects and presets. You'll find the Effects and Presets panel on the right-hand side of your screen, and this is where you can search for a multitude of effects. For example, like glow, or if you want to add a drop shadow. If we want to add, for example, a drop shadow to our text, I can click and drag that effect to my layer. Now, on my left-hand side of my screen, I get the Effect Controls panel, which is where I can change the properties of that effect that I applied to my layer. If I want the shadow to be more prominent, I can change the opacity, I can change the softness of my shadow, and there's really unlimited possibilities. One of the last things I want to show you before we export our project is how to ease in and out of your keyframes. Right now, the animation just starts harshly and it's the same exact speed from beginning to end. But if I want to ease in to this motion, I can right click on my keyframe, click Keyframe Assistant, and apply an easy ease to this keyframe. This changes the look of the keyframe, and this is how I know I've applied some sort of ease to it. This will ease into my motion now instead of harshly starting at the same speed from beginning to end, which will make it seem more natural in my animation when I export it. Once you are happy with your animation, it's time to export. We're going to go to File, Export, and Add to Render Queue. Your render queue will pop up. What it typically provides you is usually fine unless you have certain parameters that you need to match. Right here is where you'll change the location of where you want your export to live, and then you click Render. If you were looking to create a text animation that you want to apply on top of a video that you were creating in Adobe Premiere, for example, I can show you the workflow and how you would export your animation with a transparent background. I can export this with a transparent background by doing File, Export, Add to Render Queue. And now in my render queue, you can see my animation from before and my text test. Now I'm going to have to change some of my render setting because it is not going to automatically render with the transparent background. Even though it looks like it has a transparent background right now, it will still show up with a black background unless otherwise noted. You'll click on Output Module, change the format of your project to QuickTime, and then right here underneath channels, you'll now have the ability to choose RGB plus alpha, which will export you your graphic with the transparent background. I will hit OK, choose the location of where I want my export to live, and hit render. When I open up this file, it might be deceiving because you will see a black background. To show you that it truly is transparent, I'm going to drag and drop it back into After Effects, add it to my composition over here. I play this down, you can see I just have my text and I added it to a new composition. And that's the power of After Effects. You've now got the basics to start animating.